All right, let's welcome in this week's guest to the JJ Redick Podcast with Tommy Alter, my good friend Win Butler from Arcade Fire. Win, thanks for joining the pod.
Yeah, I'm actually in of Monsters and Men now. I made a little switch that got traded at the deadline. So
the COVID trade, the COVID band trade.
That'd be pretty sick if that was a thing. It's like, oh, I'm actually in the Killers now.
That actually would be amazing. I actually posed this question. I don't know why I posed this question, but I did because I was having a conversation with a buddy earlier in the day. But I posed this question yesterday on Twitter: Fleetwood Mac or the Rolling Stones? Now, I recognize it's two very different bands, and there was the blues version of Fleetwood Mac, and then there was the Lindsey Buckingham, Stevie Nicks version. Where do you stand on this, Fleetwood Mac or Rolling Stone?
Well, I'm talking to someone that I heard say of Monsters and Men as their favorite band. So this is a tough one. I'm trying to think how to triangulate this. Like if my son came in and was like, "Dad, my favorite band is of Monsters and Men," I'd be like, "You're grounded forever. Like, don't come out of your room until you listen to any music, and then come talk to me." It's a tough one. Kind of a random comp. It's like
it's not a comp though. It's not a comp.
It's not a comp.
It's a taste in music.
It's pretty random. Let's go with the Stones.
Okay. I feel like I need to defend myself a little bit here.
It came completely out of nowhere. Completely
out of nowhere.
It's sort of like if I was just like, okay, best player of all time, Dan Marley or Manute Bol. Which one is the best of all time? It can only be one. Just like it's totally random.
That wasn't how the question was posed. Number one.
JJ, explain your thought process. Explain your thought process.
No, dude,
Marley all the way, right?
Yeah, Marley for sure in that comparison. But I don't know that I wasn't saying they were the best bands ever. I was just saying.
But even comparing Dan Marley to Manute Bol is sort of. I guess I would go with. What do I say? Dan Marley. It's a coin toss. I like aspects of both. The Stones, like, I don't know. There's just like the highs are a little bit higher, I would say, for the Stones.
I had been listening to both bands quite a bit on Spotify over the last week, and I was just asking for people's personal opinion. I was absolutely shocked at how many people chose Fleetwood Mac. Yeah,
well, it's people have really horrible tastes, so.
Apparently I do. Because Win, I have a question. This is a serious question.
What is the absence of taste?
I feel like you got on this podcast today with a little bit of like an edge to you. You came in with a knife out.
I haven't talked to anyone in 6 months. This is literally the first. I haven't even talked to Regina. I've just been in this room. Staring at this computer, and then you guys just popped up. So I don't know.
Wynn's got a lot to say. He's got a lot to get off his chest.
I've got a lot to say. Yeah.
At what point in time did I ever say of Monsters and Men was my favorite band? I've never said that.
That's sticking. That's sticking from now on.
I said you said it, so it must be true, right?
That's sticking from now on, Win. I hope you know that. From now on, of Monsters and Men is 100% JJ's
So what?
band.
Then what's the deal with the Monsters and Men tattoo? Then how do you explain that?
It's a Kings of Leon tattoo. All right.
At least it's not the Chili Peppers.
Yeah.
There's always a worse. There's always a worse example.
At least they're the Kings.
That's true.
Of Leon, or the Kings of Leon, as my dad refers to them.
I actually have. I have a song lyric of theirs tattooed on my forearm. It was the original tattoo that I got on my forearm prior to the sleeve or whatever. And I met Nathan, the drummer. He came to a couple Clippers games that I gave him tickets to. And I made sure that I wore long sleeve shirts to those games. Yeah, because I'd be curious. I didn't want to fanboy like that.
Yeah, how did you feel? Like really feel? You felt embarrassed, or you felt like?
I still feel embarrassed. I still feel embarrassed.
Yeah, that's good. At least you can always remember. Like you can always just remember.
The NBA lockout. The NBA lockout was a hell of a time.
Yeah.
You know, it made me do some things that I normally wouldn't do. Like
was that the last time? Was that the last time with this kind of everything up in the air vibe?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. But the difference there was that hundreds of thousands of people weren't dying, and we could actually move around and live our normal life. We just didn't have basketball.
Yeah, better.
What have you been up to for the past few months?
Well, I mean, we were in the studio with the band when, you know, I can't remember what the date was, but whenever it became evident that this shit was really not happening. So like everyone had to change their tickets. We had been in the studio for, you know, we'd done a couple sessions. So we were sort of like right in it. And, so, you know, we had the studio in the house. So Regina and I have just been like, I don't think I've worked so intensely since I was like 18 or something, just like all day, every day till 3 a.m, writing and refining and thinking about stuff. And, so in a way we didn't have a tour booked, or, you know, we didn't have anything going. So it wasn't like we were in the middle of a tour and had to go home. And so it's been, in a way, it's just like a much, much more extreme version of what we do anyway, which is just write for, you know, a year at a time and just like really dig deep. And so in a way, that's what's been actually kind of strange about it, is it's sort of like in the flow of our, you know, our kind of, how this thing goes. We're sort of in that phase anyway, the like, no one talk to me, leave me alone phase.
Do you feel like you've been productive from the jump, or did it take you like a month to get yourself mentally prepped to work?
I mean, I feel like I was in the Olympics about to take a ski jump, and then like the whole thing changed. I was like, well, I'm still landing this jump. I'm in the air right now. So like, you know, it's like, I don't know. It's like, we're like the muscle memory is taking over. So you're just like, you're like, and you know, I feel like when I was a kid, the idea of like the end of the world was like endlessly fascinating to me. Like any science fiction movie that was about like everything being different. And so it's so surreal just to be like, oh, wow. Like this is pretty much it. So like, I was like, okay, Butler, you've been training for this, training this your whole life.
Yeah.
That's like, so that's been kind of interesting, but
you actually went to that dark place.
The dark place?
You went to the dark place, the end of the world.
Well, I don't know. Like I woke up 2 days ago and pick up my phone, and the first article is about 300 elephants dying, like dropping dead in Botswana for mysterious causes. And it's just like aerial photos of these dead elephants. I'm like, what the fuck am I waking up to? And then yesterday I wake up and pick up my phone, and it's like, man has 6-hour erection from COVID side effects. And I'm just like, how the fuck is this the front page of my news feed? Like, it's like you pick up the New York Times and it's like erection last. I'm just like, this is why this country is insane. Cause it's like, this is literally what I'm reading, like as if I'm opening the Times, and it's like dead elephants and erectile dysfunction. I'm just like, what the fuck? This is, you know, so I don't know. It's a weird times.
For you guys in the music industry, like how are you sort of managing out timelines right now? Obviously you're working on the new stuff, but in terms of, let's say, going on tour, that can't happen till there's a vaccine, I assume. You can't really start scheduling stuff till there's a vaccine. I know there's been some concerts in places like Tennessee, or, you know, but
I'm not looking to do the weird like drive-in guinea pig thing. And like, I mean, it's the same thing with the NBA. It's like, you know, I remember when Pearl Jam, there were a bunch of people died at a festival because they rushed the stage, like in Roskilde in Denmark, like 9 people died. And it basically, they didn't, for a decade, that totally messed with that band. So imagine like playing a show and it's like, cool, only 2 people directly died from the show. Pretty good, right? There were like 25,000 people, so only 2. You know, I mean, it's like when I'm watching this Trump shit, I'm just like, how, like, what kind of psychopath is cool with that kind of collateral damage? We're like, oh, only 3 old people died as a direct result of my stupid bullshit. Like, I'm cool with that. I'm going to head on the pillow tonight, baby. Like, let's do it. Like it's not fucking cool. Like, it's like, it's not a percentage thing. It's like, I would rather 0 people die as a direct result of my job. Like, in general, I hope not, you know.
If you
aspire to,
if you were an NBA player, would you then be sort of in the camp that we shouldn't be playing? There shouldn't be a season. We shouldn't even tackle that risk, even though we have all these precautions.
No, because I mean, like, my instinct was just like, we're already with the band. We already have the engineers. Just everyone stick together, ride it out. Like, we've continued to work through it and just been seeing each other. It's like, eventually it's going to go that way anyway. It's like, you're going to hang with everyone in your office or everyone at your work. And those are because the world can't stop. So it's like, you need to be with other people. And if you have the ability to do your job and kind of control the environment to a certain extent, I think you got to do that. I think that's the thing to do. Cause it's like we're all a bunch of, you know, in the grand scheme of things, it's just a bunch of rich people that can afford to not work anyway. You know, it's like most people, you have the options like, oh, cool, my kids aren't going to go to school. I'm not going to work just for like a year or so. And let's just see what happens. Like I think if you can, there's a certain amount of risk just in waking up in the morning. I mean, you're more likely to die in a car crash than from COVID anyway, or a heart attack at some points. Like, I still think you gotta, particularly if you're like an athlete, you're young, it's like you don't have any pre-existing conditions. Like, I'm not worried about myself. I don't wake up worried that I'm going to get COVID. It's more like, I don't want to be responsible in my work for exposing a bunch of other people to it that don't need to be exposed to it. So I think if you can, the future, the immediate future is just getting together with the people the work you really need to do, getting with those people and doing that work. I personally think that's the way. So I think it's cool. I think the idea of you guys going and doing and playing is, I'm all in on that, because it's just like, even just the messaging and what you can accomplish through doing it. Like the positive is so much more, so outweighs the negative, and it's a historic opportunity. I mean, I think like baseball isn't going to figure it out. Football is certainly not going to figure it out. So it's like, I think basketball is sort of uniquely situated to give it a go, you know?
I would agree. I think we can lead on this, to talk a little bit about, you know, the question of safety. I was asked today on a Zoom call with the media, like what my level of comfort was in going down to Orlando. And I just said, I was honest, but I said, I don't think there's any level of comfort. Mm-hmm. Like I'm not comfortable with it. Do I think we should play? Yeah, I do. And I'm going to go down there and I'm going to try to do my job. But there's the risk of COVID. And as you said, it's not just the risk to yourself, but it's the risk to everyone you come in contact with. There's everything happening in the country with regards to social justice. And I brought this up too. Like we're 3 months away. You know, when we get down there and start playing games in August, we're 3 months away from possibly the biggest election of our lifetimes.
Yeah.
And so to me, comfort is peace. I feel, and including like being away from your family, I feel like I'm just looking over my shoulder, if that makes sense. There's not comfort in that feeling of like you're constantly juggling all this stuff. And I do recognize, by the way, to your point as well, I do recognize like how fortunate we are that we can go like actually work, that we can actually go have this job and do something we love doing. And look, we're quarantined at a nice resort and we can go play golf and ping pong and do all this fun stuff. Like, there's a lot of great stuff that comes with that. But to say that like there's a level of comfort, I don't sense that. I don't necessarily think a lot of guys sense that.
If you're comfortable, then you're not paying attention. It's not, these aren't comfortable times, you know? And I don't think anyone cares about like, what's powerful about the NBA playing is you guys are the best basketball players in the world. So it's like what you do when the NBA plays, like as spectators, we get to see the best people in the world do something at the highest level. And there is just in that, there is a power. Like, because it's not like it's not like a YMCA pickup game. These are like the best humans who've ever played basketball. It's like there's something actually. There's art. There's something communicated just in that, and particularly in this moment, you have this opportunity when you're talking about social justice. I mean, in the 90s, I remember even as a little kid, like all the NBA Cares stuff was just such a bunch of bullshit. It was like, it's just like, look, we're painting a house. And then like, as soon as the camera's off, everyone leaves and you're like, cool. And it's like, just stop.
There's no follow-up.
Stop fucking painting basketball courts. Like we're good on painted basketball courts with logos on them. The world doesn't know what the world needs, a bunch of courts with logos on them. Like, no, we're good. Like, how about just like underwriting a youth basketball program for the city of New Orleans and paying for kids' education and healthcare? And it's like, there's so much shit the NBA could do. I was, before all this went down, I met Adam Silver actually at Paul Farmer, who's an amazing human rights, like basically revolutionized healthcare in Haiti. At his birthday party, I met Adam Silver, which was already really cool. It's like, how does Adam Silver buddies with this guy who to me is like Gandhi or something like that, an amazing dude. So already it's like a thumbs up. I'm like, this guy knows what's up if he's here. And I was talking with him about the idea of the NBA underwriting a national basketball program in Haiti. And like, for like a fraction of what they spend on crap, you could pay for the healthcare and school tuition for all the players in Haiti. It cost you, $250,000 or something annually. And you could basically underwrite an entire national program of basketball for what you waste on a press thing, And to me, there's so many opportunities of stuff like that like, I think if you guys put your mind to it and kind of take this moment, it's so much bigger than sports right now. It's so much bigger, and I would just encourage you guys to lean into that and just like, really like, it's not about the PR or the messaging or like, it's not about what's written on the court. It's really about like coming up with some ideas of like how to serve your communities in a real way. And that to me is what's genuinely exciting. I'm like, actually like, this shit could actually really move the needle, like for real, for like real humans, and not just like be a messaging exercise.
Are we doing things that are fundamentally making someone's life better on a daily basis? And honestly, that is a lot of the focus right now with the league and the owners and our union. Is we're working towards something and nothing's been announced yet, but that's what we're going after. Is like, how do we set up a fund that then targets certain communities, targets certain grassroots organizations that fundamentally improves people's daily lives, as opposed to just messaging or gestures.
Right.
They're great and they can be powerful. I'm not knocking them.
Yeah,
but like real things, real change in people's lives.
Yeah, I think it does without question. It does without question improve people's lives. Like think about what we have to talk about right now. It's all negative. Like what you said before, Win. It's all negative. It's Trump. It's horrible stories. It's death all around us. And then it's people picking fights on social media. And that's it. So it's like there's no movies coming out. There's not a ton of new music coming out. There's no real sort of like the TV stuff is already kind of running its course. So just having that.
No one cares about the Australian Basketball League. Like, it's like we're watching because you guys are so good at your jobs. So it's like just seeing, like, I grew up in Houston watching Hakeem Olajuwon. That's my all time. The only people I've ever been nervous to meet were Hakeem and Barack Obama. Like, that's it. Like that was like it for me. But watching Hakeem as a kid, I didn't know anything about anything. I was like, where's that guy from? And it was like, oh, he's from Nigeria. Where's Nigeria? Where's this Africa place where Nigeria is from? And then like, I feel like for me, Akeem was like, in the artistic part of me and the athletic part of me, like he was a dancer, you know what I mean? It was like, it was art watching him play. And so for me, like, that's huge. Like just certain players when they play and the poetry of how they move, and like that got me into Fela Kuti. That got me into like, that kind of opened my world in a way, having just watching Akeem play. He didn't have to even say anything, just the way he carried himself. Like when he played on Ramadan, had an IV in MSG on an IV, and then just dominating Patrick Ewing. I'm like, wow, you know what I mean? Like just sitting on the bench of the IV, and you're like whatever that guy. I want to know more. You know, like it kind of made me hungry to know more about the world and kind of get out of the bubble of suburban Houston, Texas. You know, it's like you're just like, you know, everyone around you just like Texas forever. Like this is the best. It's like, I don't know. I'm kind of curious about where that dude's from.
Well, I think what we're all sort of talking about here is just there is power in sports, and it's hard to really place a value on that. I think because there's so much that goes into fandom, and there's so much that goes into the art of it, the poetry of it. And I think for us to play, right, there is this notion that it could be like a distraction. And I think for a lot of people, the reason they want sports back is because it gives them a sense of normalcy. And will that return to normalcy distract them from the larger things happening?
It depends on how you do it, you know. And I think that's the intention of what of the players, because we're not watching the owners, we're watching the players. So it's like the intention that you guys go into it with determines the normalcy of it. You know what I'm saying? It's like that's actually, it's like what the kind of spirit that you do it in will translate. You know, and like I have a hard time. I'm really into the radical stuff, and I think that there is a weird alternate universe in which not playing could be more powerful, but not during COVID. Not during COVID. Like if it was any other time, I would be like, yes, don't play. That's for sure the move. But in the environment now, I think playing is way more powerful. Just in the greater cultural context, because it's like you're kind of taking this comfort. And kind of like, you know, when you think of comfort food, it's like crap that's bad for you, but it doesn't have to be. It can be something that's actually like nourishing and like actually like kind of substantial. I don't know. That's opportunity I see. But
Tommy, I wanted to ask you about this rumor that the 8 teams that were not invited to Orlando may have their own little camp and games.
Yeah, no one is watching that. No one's watching that.
It's
like zero.
So I don't think it's. But is it a rumor? I think it's happening.
Oh.
So
it is cold. It is really cold-blooded. Just eight teams. Like
it is. Why? It's one of the stupidest things I've ever heard in my life. I don't. It's bad enough. It is bad enough from a public health standpoint.
Goodwill games.
Yeah, to do this in Orlando, where there's a very clear, like what we've talked about, there's a very clear purpose for a bunch of different legitimate reasons why this has to happen in Orlando, even with all of the risks and the challenges. They should just
do it in Orlando, like JV varsity, and then they just come out and like disinfect everything after they play, and then you guys play. You're just like
they're not in the bubble. They don't get the nice hotels.
Yeah. You guys have to just stay in Orlando proper.
But it can't, JJ. It can't actually happen, right? Like imagine getting COVID to finish 25th in the league. Like what's the purpose?
So much doesn't make sense about this. First of all, we could have just invited all 30 teams to Orlando.
That would have been a better solution.
I don't know. That might have worked. But the other part, I guess, I'm putting myself in like my peers' shoes, right, as a player. So for me, it's hard enough to sort of grasp everything going on and staying focused on basketball and making the playoffs in Orlando. Like, I can't imagine then being asked to go to Chicago and play in essentially meaningless games. Like, I question, like, who's going to play in those games? Is it just going to be like summer league?
Well, who's going to play? Who's the audience?
Is Steph playing? Is Steph going to play for the Warriors?
I can't imagine.
I'm going to go ahead and predict that Steph is not going to be playing. I'm going all in. Going to Vegas. I'm putting everything I got on Steph is not playing.
JJ, have you talked to anybody about it on any of those teams?
No, but Drew and I were just talking about it, and he had been talking to a guy from the Bulls. I won't say the guy's name, but he'd been talking to a guy from the Bulls. And he was
I have a question for you. So, like, in your honestly, do you think the Pelicans were going to make the playoffs if this doesn't go down? Like,
if there's no COVID and the season plays out, we were going to make the playoffs.
Yeah,
I believe we were.
That was my feeling.
People react.
It's harder. It's harder for you guys now. I think your path is more difficult now than it would have been. But
we have apparently the easiest schedule relative to the other 21 teams that are in Orlando. Mm-hmm. Or maybe the fourth easiest. I don't know, one of the easiest schedules. And everybody was like freaking out, like, oh, the NBA wants them in the playoffs so bad. And I'm like, but we had the easiest schedule left when the season ended.
Yeah.
And we're just picking up where the schedule left off. There's no trickery here. There's no card games happening where it's just, we're playing who we were supposed to play, just in a different order.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's more just seeing Zion come in so late. And I was at that first game that he played, and you're just like, he was on that minutes restriction. So the whole time you're just like, when are they going to let this kid play basketball? Because it's like, he's really good at basketball. I would love to see him play some basketball. And so, like, that'll be cool. I'm excited to, I mean, you must have a tiny percentage. I know you're just a mercenary at this point, and like you could care less, but like, is there some small part of you that wants to, that like, it's like, yes, I'm making the playoffs. Like, fuck this shit. I'm making the playoffs every year I'm in the NBA. There has to be, it has to be there, right?
But isn't a mercenary, like, isn't his goal to win? I mean, come on, man.
Yeah.
God, that's 2 digs today. All right. No,
I like this hostility. Win would just have to be a regular on the show. Just come on, lobbing grenades.
Seriously, man. It's been accused of so many things.
No, but I'm genuinely curious. Like, it's like that's pretty cool. If you make the playoffs every year of your career, that's huge. That's amazing. Like, you gotta want that.
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
I do. I would say in the grand scheme of things, I have realized that me making the playoffs is fairly insignificant.
Yeah.
To my own life, yeah, of course, I want to be in the playoffs, and I want to see what happens
the Lakers
in the playoffs.
In the first round,
right? I want to
Mutombo with the ball.
Yeah, I want.
That could be
you.
Exactly. You could be Mutombo with the ball.
I think the interesting thing to me, and we'll talk more about this once we get down there on the podcast, but the interesting thing is, like, when does that switch sort of engage? When does that light bulb, turn on, and you're like, oh, I'm back in that mode? Because right now you got to understand, like, we're going to the practice facility. I don't see half my team. So there's like the morning group from 9 to 11, and there's the group from 11 to 1.
Right.
And I'm on the court with like 3 or 4 other guys doing, nothing live. And then I shoot with another guy, and then we switch places, and somebody goes on the training table, somebody goes in the weight room, somebody goes on the court. So it doesn't feel like we're in season.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
You're just getting conditioning. You're just kind of getting back up to speed, sort of.
So they're not really going to turn it on until you get down there.
Right.
That's when it's going to become more.
Yeah. We have 10 days, essentially. Let's call it 10 days of practice. And then there's another 10-day period where we play 3 scrimmages. And then we start playing real games on the 30th. I think we have the first game. I think once you get down there, I think the feeling will be different. Mm-hmm. But I've set the line at 7 days over under 7 days. That's the line for first guy to intentionally leave the bubble.
Right.
And I'm curious to see you guys. Were you guys taking the over or the under on that?
When we've talked about this on the show a lot. Let me ask you a question, JJ, because I was having this discussion with somebody yesterday. If they leave and they get caught sneaking back in by the real mercenaries that are the security guards or whatever they're called at this thing, they're done, right? They kick them out and they lose a bunch of money. And
no, they quarantine for like 10 to 14 days.
So no JaVale in the second round. That's gonna be tough.
So they're
Could
not,
be no JaVale, no Dwight.
So they're not kicked out?
No, you don't get kicked out. So you can, by the way, if you have an excuse to leave, you can leave, but you still have to.
Then I'm taking the heavy under. I'm taking like someone will be out in 2 days.
And they'll just say, I don't have to practice, but I can still play the games. Actually, it's a good strategy.
I don't know. I mean, you played in Orlando. We played a show in Orlando. This is our first time playing in Orlando. It stinks there. It's really stinky place.
Well, it is a city that was essentially built on a swamp. I don't know if you knew that.
It's a terrible, terrible city. So that should help, right? It should help keep people in the bubble.
Yeah.
This is the only argument to me that people. This is the only.
I mean, I know you can't say that, but we all know.
I'll give you an argument for why people will stay in the bubble, which is a 2020 specific thing.
Yeah.
First of all, the Orlando point is completely valid. So it's not like there's a ton of places
terrible.
to
like
go.
Truly, I'm underselling how terrible
there's not a ton of places to go. But secondly,
I mean, it's no Tampa.
But
but
secondly,
I'm going to sit this one out.
It's no Oklahoma City, but it's real bad. Let's be clear on one thing.
You're right. It's not a great place. A lot of great people, but there's not a lot to do in the city.
Great people. Amazing
I did
people.
not know that we were going to have Win on, and he was just going to shit on mid-size American cities. That's what he's going to do.
No, I love him. I mean, I live in New Orleans, a tiny city. Mid-size. Does that count as mid-size even?
But if you just play it out for a second, you're a guy, you want to go out, you want to meet girls, you want to do whatever, and you leave. Everybody has a phone. You're incredibly recognizable.
Yeah, of course.
You're 6'9", whatever. Yeah. So people are going to see. So you have to be very sort of like clandestine in the first place to just sort of get around all of that. And so you run that risk in your head. And the second thing is, especially if you're like the first person to get caught breaking the bubble, the amount of shit you're going to get publicly. Everybody is so mad online right now, and you will be the person.
I hope they're wearing a fake mustache. That's my only request, is that they get caught like in a strip club with a fake mustache. Like,
I think it's like, if you're not a good, like if it's an all-star, whatever, people will get over it. If it's somebody that's like the 8th or 9th man on the team doing it, it's like a career ender. I think people are going to be like, you are not in a position to blow this for everybody else.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's the only argument.
But James Harden, they are going to let back in. They'll be like, okay, man, you can come back.
There are certain exceptions. Life is not fair.
Win, I want to get back to this topic though.
Yeah.
Shittiest American cities with like around 500,000 people as their population.
It's hard for me because a lot of my takes on cities is like the feeling of performing for people. So it doesn't really have anything to do with, like we have amazing shows in like Scotland and Dublin. They're not my favorite cities to go to, but it's just like people just know how to like go hard at a show. I mean, I don't know. Cleveland stinks.
I feel bad for Cleveland.
Like sort of a desolate.
They get so much shit. They have
St.
people
Louis,
dump on them all the time.
St. Louis is like the band's almost broken up in St. Louis a couple times just for how bad the vibe was for the show. Like, because you do the same thing, and then the audience reaction is so bad, and you're just like, wait, am I bad? Did I just get? But from yesterday, are we just the shittiest band of all time now? It's like, oh no, people just aren't. This is how they show that they're happy, just by staring blankly.
Speaking of St. Louis, did you guys see that couple with the guns that was happening a couple days ago?
Yeah, I just saw the picture. Yeah.
So the story is wild in its own right. The thing that I was amazed by is I was Googling pictures of their house because it was this insane, massive block mansion that inside looked like it was like you were in like a castle in England or whatever. And you look at the Zillow on it or whatever, the price, and it's like $1.4 million. It's like a 2-bedroom apartment in other places, which I'm like, I should just move to St. Louis. Like, fuck everything else. If we're not going to see anybody anyway, the amount of space you can get there. So that's a positive. That's a great thing.
Yeah. You get a lot of house. You get a lot of house.
A lot of house. A lot of house and a lot of guns.
Detroit too. I mean, I've had a good time in Detroit. I mean, there's I don't know. There's a lot of cities that seem fine until you go to other cities in the world. Like, I grew up in Houston, which was terrible when I was a kid, but Houston's come a long way since I was a little, like, Houston's actually. Yeah,
Houston's awesome.
If you put a gun to my head now and it's like, you have to move to Texas, I would probably move to Houston, which is weird because Austin, like, my entire life, Austin was like the city on the hill. And it's kind of the combo of Austin turning to Silicon Valley and Houston being this kind of multicultural, interesting city in a weird, it's really strange. I mean, luckily Dallas still totally sucks. So that's the one thing that stays constant. But like, I don't know if Dallas was cool. I'd just be like, I wouldn't know what to do with myself. I'd be like, the world is upside down, you know, like it would have made sense when Trump was elected. If Dallas suddenly got cool, I'd be like, okay, this makes sense now. This all makes sense.
Why'd you decide to move to NOLA?
Well, Regine, my wife her family's from Haiti, and she grew up in Montreal in French Canada. That we met in Montreal, and the first time we did a road trip when we were riding the suburbs, we went to my hometown, which is the Woodlands, Texas, which she hadn't really spent time there, and I don't have any family there or anything. Everyone left, so I just went to this. I was like, I haven't been there since I was 15. So we went back and just drove around this little suburban town, and totally got pulled over by the cops because we were like taking pictures, and we had California plates because we had a rental car. And he was like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "I don't know, man, just taking a picture of an empty lot." And he's like, I was like, "Why did you pull me over?" I was like, kind of getting mad. He's like, why did you pull me over? And he's like, "Suspicious activity." I was like, "Fucking suspicious activity? What do you like?" I'm in an empty parking lot. Like, what is in the suburbs of Houston? So yeah, I don't know. But when we drove, once you hit Louisiana, like Lake Charles and Lafayette, that whole Cajun area, and we went to the Zydeco Club, and it's like all black kids in cowboy hats singing in French and playing the accordion. And Regine could understand all the patois, like all the Creole. And it was like this weird cross section of her family tree of like the French Canadian, Quebec, and the South. And so we both just really feel comfortable here in a weird way. Yeah, I don't know. Feels like the Caribbean or something.
What do you, I want to talk a little bit about New Orleans, actually. Yeah. I'm glad this came up in conversation because it is such a special place. It's unique. It's authentic. There's so many layers to it. And as an outsider, someone who visited for 13 years, I pretty much would stay at a hotel and go to one or two restaurants. I didn't really get to experience New Orleans until I became a player here. And I feel like around the NBA, there's like this, I don't know how to describe it, but it's like, oh, you know, you don't leave the hotel in New Orleans. What is it about this place that is so, like, if you had to, like, it's hard to quantify, but what is it about this place that's so special?
I mean, I've just seen New Orleans is sort of like a couple cities within a city. I mean, it's just, there's so much culture and history, and it's, you know, it's like it's an African-American city, though. I don't forget the percentages, 70% or something like that. And so if you kind of go to Bourbon Street or you do the normal tourist thing, it's like, it's essentially a honey trap for tourists to just take people's money. Basically. It's like, "Hey, come on down." It's like, it's a total like carny. It's like a carny trick just to get all these stupid people to come waste their money. But if you so they kind of funnel everyone down there. But if you just go a couple blocks the other direction, it's like, I've just seen some shit in New Orleans that I've only ever seen like in Port-au-Prince, like Sao Paulo, Rio, like particularly during Carnival, like there's these Mardi Gras Indian practices that happen. And it's like everyone's just playing the drums and tambourine and doing these kind of ritual dances and singing in this sort of Creole patois. And you're just like, am I in Lagos or am I in America? Like, what is going on? It's like the deepest and actually deeper, like I've seen crazier stuff in New Orleans that I've seen in Kingston, Jamaica. You know what I mean? Like it's deep, as deep as you want to get. It's there, which is not really a thing in the world. It's like it's a very, very rare thing. Cause I feel like there's this monoculture. Like you can go to a coffee shop in London and just feel like you're in Brooklyn or LA, or like, I feel like there's this sort of aesthetic thing with the internet where like everywhere is sort of the same in a weird way.
It's been like homogenized. The culture has been homogenized.
Like you mean Tokyo and feel like you're in Brooklyn, you know, it's like, and so places that have that thing, like even just like you're at a stoplight and people are like pumping like bounce shit that's from here, like on the radio coming from their car, like the music sounds different and people are just like, we have our shit. We don't need your shit. Like we're good. We have like, we're good. We have like hundreds of years of our own way of hearing things and feeling things. And it's just a very rare, exceedingly rare thing, you know?
Tommy, when you came down this winter and we recorded the pods with Jimmy and Duncan and you and Win got to meet and hung out, was that your first time sort of getting the local tour?
Well, I think the New Orleans tour with Win is different than the New Orleans experience in most cases. Yeah. I would say, because I'd spent a lot of time in the city before, but where did we go? We went to a few places that were really off the beaten path.
We did. I think we went to that cigar bar, which is just my. I'm really like praying after with this COVID stuff that all this stuff is still there. I'm just like, what happens? What happens with all this stuff? I'm just like, is this just all gone? You know?
There's like a college bar too. There was like
Dos Jefes is like this like cigar bar. I just drove by it one day and there's a sign. It looks like Havana. It's like this crazy Cuban sign. And I was with my friend Ben Jaffe from Preservation Hall. And I was just like, I just feel like we should stop at this bar. And like we went in and I was like, what is this place? And there's an amazing jazz band playing in the corner, but like not tourist crap, just like real, like amazing live music. You play pool, they'll put an NBA game on and mute it while the band's like, there's a jazz band playing and you're watching the game on mute. And then the band stops and they turn the sound back on and you play pool and have a rum and smoke a cigar. And you're like, this is pretty much the shit. This is amazing. You know, this is amazing. So there's just stuff like that. Like I don't think that exists in LA, you know?
Well, the other thing you guys have not mentioned is the food in New Orleans, and JJ and I talk about this almost on a daily basis, but the food in New Orleans is on another planet compared to the rest of the country, I think.
It's unique. It's very heavy. You know, if like you can kind of like, there's a lot of really, I mean, obviously it's like you're a foodie. So it's like it's more like the little hole in the wall, this particular po' boy from this place. That's the stuff that I find really moving in New Orleans. It's like, just like some of the little stuff that's really special. Grilled oysters and all that stuff.
I think it's how accessible the food is. It's not stuffy. It's just very accessible.
Yeah.
Drew and I were driving around yesterday and he pointed out a shipping container just in random like lot. Just there's a shipping container and he was like, oh, that wing place is unbelievable. Yeah. I'd never heard of it. But there's places like that in every neighborhood in New Orleans.
You don't remember what it was called?
I don't. Oh. It was in a shipping container though. Right. It was over in like Marigny, like that area. Yeah. Right. We were headed out to buy water. So
that's cool.
Let's shift gears a little bit and let's chat about your own hoop stardom. because I think it's important for the listener to know that you have been the MVP of an All-Star game.
Yeah, I was MVP of the celebrity game in Toronto. Yeah, I feel
like you should have won it. Yeah, I feel like you should have won it twice. Yeah,
you might be a celebrity game Hall of Famer.
I'm an all-time leading scorer celebrity game high school. I had the year I didn't win. I had like 25 and 18 rebounds or something. But I got political when I won, so they didn't. I remember that.
They cut your mic.
They cut my mic. It's like one of my real proudest moments. But like, I won the celebrity game, and it was like I was on Team Canada because I'm sort of an adopted Canadian at this point. And I was just like, how does a Canadian team talk trash to an American team when you win? And healthcare, that's it. I mean, that's pretty much what comes to mind. And it was like right when Trump was just starting to get going. It was like right when it was like people were sort of laughing at Trump still, but you were like, yeah, this isn't funny to me anymore. And it was like I said something about it, like it's an election year, and the U.S. could learn a lot from Canada about taking care of people and healthcare, and she's just like, we're talking about celebrity stuff. We're talking about celebrity stuff right now. And they cut my mic, and I was just like, mwah. Like, I was just like, thank you for the assist. I couldn't have done it better. Like, thank you so much for cutting me off. That was amazing. That was perfect.
I forgot about that. Was an iconic moment.
Yeah, that was they really, I mean, who watches a celebrity game? It's such a slog. But then I was, to their credit, they let me play the next year, which I really didn't think they were going to let me play, but it was in New Orleans. So it was like 2 blocks from my house the next year. And so like, I was impressed that they even let me play. I thought for sure they weren't gonna let me play. So, but then I played and I had like 25 and I was like, oh, obviously I won. And the next guy had like 10 MVP. Points less to me, and then they didn't give it to me. I was like, wow, that's also really good. That was good. So I was like,
who won the MVP the second time?
I don't know.
You can't remember?
He's like a dude who like does impressions of, like, he's a basketball player, but he like does impressions of people dribbling, and he does like celebrity basketball impersonations.
Okay.
Which also, I mean, I don't really think I count as a celebrity, but that is definitely not a fucking celebrity.
The celebrity game has definitely fallen off. It might go away whenever there's
like, if I'm a celebrity already, this is a low bar, but like there's no real celebrities in the game. I mean, like Bieber was in there a little bit, but was there
anyone you were surprised that them actually being pretty good?
No one's that good. I mean, Quavo is like kind of all right. Like, he's okay.
Did you play with Arnie Duncan?
He could play. I haven't played with him, but that's what my game's going to look like in about 10 years. Like, I like his game.
He's just like fundamentally solid.
Yeah.
And he clearly has played basketball at a high level.
Yeah. He played college. I think he played at Harvard or something.
Are there do you have any like contemporaries in the industry that are good? Maybe they don't play in the game, but you've played with?
I met, I played with, I don't know. No one that's that good. I mean, I've definitely, Josh Tillman, Father John Misty can get a rebound. He's tall. He's like 6'3".
He can get a rebound. That's not really saying much about his skill level.
Not much. I'm trying to think who's actually good. There's a dude on the band The Rosebuds who played college ball, who's like an actual real basketball player. But most of the dudes I've played with can't really play. Like the people that present themselves as playing, or like Lil Bow Wow, or you're just kind of like, dude, you know that you weren't really on USC, right? Like, you know that was like sort of an insider deal, right? But I don't know. Maybe he could really play back in the day. I don't know. Maybe.
This was Master P's son.
Master P's son.
Lil Romeo.
Lil Romeo was like really like coming at it. Like,
I thought he was good.
No, he's not good. He's like 4 feet tall. Like, he's not good.
I just looked up the roster, by the way, for 2017 when it was in New Orleans.
Yeah.
And Baron fucking Davis was in the Celebrity All-Star game. How is that possible? He was an NBA player and an All-Star. And Candace Parker was in the game too.
Yeah, that was cool. Candace Parker is really cool.
It's really, the thing is slipping. Like if you told
slipping.
like if the All-Star game exists next year,
it shouldn't.
The celebrity game should not exist. No,
I mean they should. I used to love the NBA like Rock and Jock stuff. It was like Sean Kemp and like that. I don't know if you guys might be too young for that, but that like when they did the MTV softball and all that.
Oh
stuff.
yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I remember that.
There were a couple years there when like Rock and Jock because it was in the summer and it was like real actual big time celebrities and like the Beastie Boys and the Chili Peppers and like NBA, like real NBA stars playing, and it was sort of loose and like that's kind of what it should be. But I'm grateful it's not that. I mean that allowed me to play, which was cool. That you
know you were there you were at its peak. You got your rings and your MVPs, and you got out before the thing died.
I mean, I wish I had gone there. If I had gone like 10 years earlier, I mean, I was already at the end of my career when I went. If I went 10 years earlier, I could have scored 100.
Just do the wilt.
If I do play again, though, I'm going for 100. Like, I'm just like, I'm not passing one time.
Win is just like the biggest NBA celebrity dickhead player. Like curses out the announcers.
Just a ball of fire. Just like
what is wrong with that guy?
I'm just gonna be screaming like political messages and just like elbowing people in the face and like layup, steal, layup.
Oh man!
I'm not going to play defense. I'm not going to even go back on
his shirt off.
It's great. All right, we're gonna draft and power rank here in a second. Before we do, we're gonna do a like a speed round. Win.
Okay.
So no explanation needed. Okay. We're gonna answer you some questions. But before we do that speed run, I just want to reiterate one thing from earlier in the pod. You shitted on Cleveland, Dallas, St. Louis, Oklahoma City, Orlando, and Tampa. Just leaving it out there. You shitted on those 6 cities. That's all.
Luckily, I'm not on the internet, so I don't care.
All right.
At all. Like not even like I stand by those judgments. Very good people, amazing people. I'm sure there's great things there. Terrible cities.
I'll stand for a few of those cities. A few of them I like. All right. Favorite song that Arcade Fire has ever made?
Favorite song? Probably a new one that you guys haven't heard yet.
Boo.
No, but then it'll be cool when you actually hear it and it's like the best fucking song you've ever heard. And you're like, that's the one you said on the pod. Yeah. Yeah. No, check it out. In the past, favorite song, like the one I enjoy the most, or that it's like the objectively the best?
Favorite. No, your favorite song.
Probably The Suburbs. Just like I had a version of it that was like 10 minutes long at one point. Like I had a lot to say on the topic. So probably that one.
I think I told you this a couple weeks ago. I think I texted you this. The Suburbs video, this one that Spike Jonze directed, is like the most perfect representation of COVID aside, what's going on in the country. Or one
yeah, totally. I mean, like I was saying before, that was like that's just what I would ruminate on when I was a kid. Just like, I don't know. It's like a weird escapist thing, but
yeah,
now it's real.
What was your favorite festival to play?
I mean, Glastonbury is really like when we headlined it, you feel like you're playing for the entire population of Earth, like in the Middle Ages or something. It's like so many people. And plus it's on BBC. So you're broadcasting to like the entire country. I mean, back in the day, the first time we played Coachella in 2005, we had our shit was like in cardboard boxes and we had no techs and no had just hired a manager. We had no crew, and we played for like 50,000 people. We were playing on the B stage, and it was just like as far as the eye could see. And we're just like, all right, felt like war, like going to war or something. That definitely sticks out. But there's a lot of amazing festivals in, like Lollapalooza in South America is cool because you do it with all the bands. So you actually take all the little flights. You're actually hanging out with all the bands for like 10 days in a row, as opposed to just being ships in the night and just seeing people for a second. So those festivals where you play, where you're seeing the same bands all the time are kind of cool because you actually get to know people. There's one called Big Day Out in Australia that we did with, it was like Rage Against the Machine, LCD Sound System, Bjork, and us. And we're all just hanging out, like having dance parties every night. And I'm like playing ping pong with Zach and like with Rage Against the Machine and just like that. And like Snoop Dogg is on all the flights. Like everyone's just on every little weird flight to Perth, and you're like kind of hanging out at the hotel afterwards. That was pretty cool.
I love a good Rage Against the Machine reference. Oh man, I listened to them the other day, like their album while I was working out. It was the first time I'd listened in years.
It's amazing. Yeah.
But did you have a great story? You have a great
Rage Against the Machine story. So on that tour, they have we were like middle of the day. We weren't like headlining or anything. This is like 10, 15 years ago. And so Rage has this, I'm kind of got to know Tom Morello a little bit. And so like I'd talked with them a little bit, and they had these big security guards, like huge security. And like, we're kind of in our little area with like our little camper, and they're clearing the way for Rage to walk through the stage. And I'm just kind of standing in the doorway, and this big security guy is like, man, you got to get in there and close the door. Like, we can't have anyone standing here when Rage comes through. I'm like, what are you talking? I'm just like standing he's like, no, I need you to close that door. You got to get in there and close that door. And it just the first thing that came to my head, I said, fuck you. I won't do what you tell me. And he's like, what'd you say? And I was like, fuck you. I won't do what you tell me. And then he kind of realized, and he just going like, oh, and like kind of walked away. And I was just like, mwah. That was one of my greatest ad libs.
That's great. You could only listen to one rock album for the rest of your life. It's the album you're taking on that patented, trademarked desert island.
I mean, it's not quite a rock album, but I mean, I feel like Neil Young Harvest is pretty much a perfect, just like it does all the things. It's like, I don't know. It's just a perfect record to me.
You've now validated my taste in music by saying that. So thank you.
Perfect record.
Yeah.
You have to live in a non-American, non-Canadian city for the rest of your life. What is it?
Probably Barcelona or Lisbon. Yeah. Just like amazing weather, amazing food, beautiful, historic. I mean, there's a lot of places that are, but that would be easy. That's just like culturally easy. I have to learn Portuguese, but.
All right. Last one before the rankings. You have to live in Cleveland, Dallas, St. Louis, Oklahoma City, Orlando, or Tampa. Which one are you picking?
Not Dallas, not St. Louis, not Cleveland. It's going to be Florida. Let's go with Tampa. I can go to the beach.
All right.
I'm going Tampa. I can drive down to Miami if I need to. I can get into the Florida thing.
Is there a big Dallas-Houston rivalry? Or do they not? Is it too far away?
Just between the cities?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Not really. I mean, how could you have a rivalry with Dallas? It sucks. It's like, it'd be like US. It's like, I don't know. Yeah. No. Because it was like the Cowboys, it was like the Mavericks sucked always when the Rockets were good, and the Oilers sucked when the Cowboys were good. So nothing could ever really develop because no one was ever on each other's level. So it wasn't like, it was all about high school football.
Yeah.
Like the high school football thing and like Friday Night Lights thing. That was, we didn't care about the Oilers. It was all about the high school shit.
I'm very curious what's going to, COVID wise, is high school football going to exist? A, and B, if it does exist, are these fans not going to go to the games? Like, I feel like that is harder in a way, even than like the pros, because it's so culturally significant in the town.
I think Texas is pretty much all in on survival of the fittest at this point. I mean, they kind of like out of the gate, we're like, we're not doing any of this shit. And it's like, I think they're just going to roll with it and be like, all right, a bunch of old people are going to die. Let's go to watch some football.
Oh, fuck.
That's my
what
honest.
It seems like that's what Florida too.
That's what everyone's been doing in Texas and Florida. It's just like, there's like, you know what? Can't really be bothered. Let's just roll with it. But I think people are just going to go. I think, you shouldn't really be playing high school. I don't know. You shouldn't really be playing high school football unless you're really good anyway. Probably not the best. Just like banging yourself in the head all the time.
Nope. All right, let's rank.
We're ranking condiments.
Condiments. So
like
are we
specific?
Are we counting? We're counting dressings and condiments.
Dressings. I mean, it's a slippery slope because right out of the gate, it's like relish is a condiment, right?
Yes. We're going to debate this. This is part of the debate. Whatever you think is a condiment is a condiment.
Well, if relish is a condiment, then I'm taking a pickle because to me, relish is disgusting and should just be like, if that counts as a condiment.
Oh, don't step on someone might pick it. JJ, you're up first. Win, what you have to understand is JJ is a really bad ranker.
I'm not a bad ranker.
Just know this going in.
I don't pander my picks to the general population. I pander my picks for myself.
You got to speak your truth, man. You got to.
So we're doing it's a snake ranking. He'll go first, but if he picks something, we can't pick it.
Okay.
So I want to be clear here because I get confused sometimes on what we're actually drafting and ranking.
Yep.
Are we going specific condiments or just like a general like relish?
It doesn't have to be like a specific brand. It can be a general condiment. Because I don't know certain brands' names.
And I get the number one pick.
You got the number one pick.
How did that work?
He always gets it. It's because he has to.
It's not true. I've had the middle pick the last 3 times we've done this. All right. My first pick. Very easy choice. Sriracha.
Interesting.
That's a fine pick. I would pick it 1, but it should be in the top 5.
It's versatile. It's got a little heat to it.
Yeah,
you can put it on eggs, breakfast tacos, rice bowls. It's great.
And mad respect that it's like, the bottle of sriracha and it's just called sriracha. Like they don't even bother to have a name for it. It's just called sriracha.
It's chili paste. It's like
what it is. It's like what it is. The bottle that looks like the thing. It's sriracha. But there isn't like a competing brand of sriracha. It's just sriracha.
There's not.
Yeah.
There's not.
Yeah. Then you come up with a brand name.
Tommy, you go next, and then Win can get the 2.
All right. I'm riding with honey mustard as my number 1.
Oh my God.
Honey mustard is fantastic.
Insane. Honey mustard
is fantastic.
That's the worst number 1 pick ever.
I don't love mustard. In general,
it's not even in the top 10 mustards.
Honey mustard
honey mustard with chicken tenders, honey mustard on sandwiches. Honey mustard is insanely good. Doesn't matter what brand. All honey mustard is great.
Honey mustard isn't even in my top 10 mustards. I'm
so dumbfounded by this choice.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's not even a safe choice. It's the Anthony Bennett of mustards.
I'm riding with honey mustard.
Okay.
Wow.
You get 2 Win, by the way.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to go with, it's going to be a little bit controversial, but I'm going to say ketchup. Cause I get 2 picks. I'm going to go with ketchup, and I'm not talking about your like house ketchup. Like I don't want to go to a restaurant that has house ketchup. Like if anyone says if I ever go to a restaurant again and they offer me house ketchup, I'm walking out the second the word house and ketchup come together. Like I'm standing up. I'm saying,
I actually believe
I'll
are.
take this to go. I'll take this to go. Cause I feel like I really believe that, but I haven't really put my money where my mouth is. And like, I'm going to do better. If I ever get to go back to restaurant.
Embrace my inner asshole. Just be like, I'm out.
House ketchup? Oh, you think your ketchup's going to taste better than just ketchup? Like, come on. It's ketchup. Just put it on something.
Have you never had really good house ketchup?
Of course not. What's the point of it? It's like, just tastes like weird.
I have a thing on my list. We'll get to.
So ketchup, I'm just going with ketchup just because it was available at 3 and you always take the strong, I'm just taking the strongest available pick at 3. And I'll probably trade it for like 10 other condiments.
Do you put ketchup on everything?
I don't even really like ketchup that much, but I'm just taking it because I'm going to flip it.
Just flip it to some idiot down the road.
I'm just taking value. It's really a value pick. It's like a long-term investment sort of thing. I'm definitely trading it though, because I don't really like ketchup. And then my next one, I'm going to go with horseradish. Like a fresh horseradish on an oyster, or like just like kind of a little bit more refined. You can put it in mustard and it'll taste a lot better than honey mustard. It's a good little horseradish trick. Horseradish.
I like that pick. I like that pick a lot. Because have you ever had is it the prime rib sandwich at Houston's? Or
I have actually.
Hillstone, whatever.
Yeah.
But a prime rib sandwich, like you need the horseradish. It's not just the jus.
Yeah,
you need the horseradish for sure.
Yeah.
I like that pick.
It makes something that's already really good taste better, which is a tough thing to do in a condiment. It's tough.
Yeah.
This pick is okay. Both of those picks were like,
I can't wait to see this second.
I'm trading
pick.
ketchup though I'm trading ketchup though for like 5 other condiments.
All right.
Next.
My second pick, chunky guacamole. So only homemade chunky guacamole that has tomatoes and onions and everything in it. So the guacamole that you get at a store or something like that, if it's like in a factory, disgusting, unedible.
No
chunky homemade guacamole, excellent.
Yeah. They sell. They now sell like at Whole Foods it's an avocado that's just cut up, like nothing else has been done. It's like, but it's ripe and it's in a thing and it's like good to go. Is
it more expensive?
Of course, it's probably like 10 times as expensive as just buying an avocado. We just put it on.
So in case someone doesn't own a knife, they could just buy a slice.
I don't know. There's just like how many times have you like cut into an avocado and it's like all black, or it's like you got to wait around for it to be ripe, and I don't always have time. I need it ripe when I need to eat it.
I also get in my head when it gets brown after like a day and a half, and I'm like, oh, this is done.
It looks gross.
They're like, no, you just got to like mix it around. But I mean,
that's the other problem with guacamole is if you don't finish it and you put it in the fridge, it looks like.
Oh, it's guacamole is a 1 day thing.
It's a 1 day. You can't. It tastes fine, but it looks disgusting.
2 days out is a non-starter.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Great pick, Tommy. Chunky guac.
Thanks.
Homemade. Great pick.
Yeah.
I have to just give a shout out to my wife, who you both know, Chelsea. She makes the best homemade guacamole, and it is chunky, onions, tomatoes, all the good stuff. All right. I get salt. Two picks here. So surprised this one is still on the board, to be honest with you, because
I'll trade you ketchup for.
No, you're not getting this one. Sir Kensington's mayo, not just any mayo. Sir Kensington's mayo. It's the best mayo that I've had. It belongs on every turkey sandwich.
It's almost an aioli. You know what I mean?
It is very close to an aioli.
It's a fine line.
So this is. I'm
and
sure
I gotta be honest, I
brand.
use it as my base. I use it as a base for some other stuff that I make too.
Mayonnaise is absolutely disgusting to me.
You're one of those people.
Inedible. It's inedible.
I kind of got like when I moved to Montreal, they have there's like a chain of Belgian, like the real French fry places, like the real deal Belgian fries, which you only eat with the mayo is the base for all of it. And I was like not open-minded to it. And then I kind of, it objectively tastes better on an actual like Belgian French fry with mayo that's the only, like you can't actually eat it another way. Like ketchup tastes actually kind of gross on it once you have it.
For me, it's
Just
all
saying.
mental because if I eat something, obviously mayo is mixed into a lot of things. If I eat something and I don't know that it's in it and it's not just squirted out of the thing,
Yeah.
it's fine. But if I like squirt mayo onto a turkey sandwich, I like can't eat it. I just
Some people put butter on a sandwich. Remember, do you ever have a
they do that
friend
in
who's like
France.
mom would put like a big
but it's good and
bite of
it's
butter.
good in in Europe
room
though.
temp butter.
room temp?
Yeah,
But
it's
Right
like a
on
really
top.
good. It's like a really good piece of bread, and they put butter and ham.
I
and-
love bread and butter, but butter like on a roast beef sandwich is weird to me.
No,
still.
me too. All right, next pick.
Caramelized onions.
No, that's a good one.
Caramelized onions. I think I picture.
Condiment. Okay.
Well, what's the difference between caramelized onions and relish or chunky guacamole?
I
There's
mean,
no difference.
yeah, chunky guacamole is not
You
a
can't shit
condiment.
on
but we're rolling with it. Yeah, I didn't want to like just shit on everything. I mean, it's not unless you're like, what are you putting it on?
How is it not a condiment?
That was 2 picks ago, and you didn't protest the pick then. So you
Yeah,
can't now protest the caramelized onion.
Caramelized is also a condiment. If you
This
can
is
order
where
it
we.
on- if you
This
can
is the
go
slippery
to
slope.
if you can go to Wynn's restaurant and you order a cheeseburger and you can say what do they want on it and you can say caramelized onions, then it's a condiment. You
And
can
chunky
say-
guacamole. I guess I'll do chunky guacamole and caramelized onions.
That's a good pick. Caramelized onions is a great pick.
That's cool.
All right, I'm up.
So we're doing true condiments.
Tahini sauce is my third pick.
Oh man,
Tahini is awesome. It's weird that I don't like mayo and I love tahini,
Yeah.
but it is what it is.
Okay.
I'm
Tahini
gonna say
all Mediterranean, excellent.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna say, that you're 1 for 3, just in your picks. I'm just gonna say that.
All
It's
right.
just
Since we're no longer really talking about condiments, I'm gonna go ahead and go with I'm gonna trade my ketchup to no, I'm just kidding. I'm gonna go with extra virgin olive oil, but just the best. It's not a condiment, but neither is fucking guacamole. So the best possible olive oil, like only olive oil, just that on and literally anything.
Agreed.
Makes
Great.
anything.
that's a great call. That's a
Great
great
pick.
call.
That's a great pick.
That's a
Anything
great
better.
pick. Hey, while we're on the topic of this, is salt a condiment? Because I need to rethink my next pick.
No, because
No.
salt is like
Salt
a
is free.
basic human.
Salt
Yeah,
comes-
salt's
it's
like
a human right. It's a human right.
That's a human necessity.
Yeah, water, salt,
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
pepper
Not
is
a
up for
condiment.
debate. Pepper
Sugar.
is
Yeah,
not
sugar,
essential.
salt.
Salt
that
is
doesn't count.
essential.
You have another pick one.
I have another pick.
Yeah.
I don't need anything else. I have.
No, you have
I'm
to.
good.
We're doing 5.
Okay. 5. God damn. This is why these things are so long. I'm going with. It's the first thing that comes to my mind. I'm condiment. I'm looking at my fridge. I don't fucking know. None of these are condiments.
Pick a
Parmesan
mustard. Pick a mustard. You said honey mustard was not
Were
even
you
your
going to say
top 10
Parmesan?
of
Were you going to
mustard.
say Parmesan cheese?
Parmesan cheese. That's
You
not
put
a
it on top.
condiment.
Yeah, but
By the way,
That's not a condiment.
I support that pick because
Yeah.
Parmesan cheese is excellent on everything.
Parmesan cheese. You put it on things.
Excellent.
Oh my God, we're gonna give
super
him.
pro.
Yeah.
I'm super pro that pick.
We're gonna give him
Parmesan.
Parmesan cheese.
Yeah.
Parmesan
Fresh
cheese is
grated
good.
Parmesan
Oh my God, on any pasta.
on anything.
Oh my God.
Do you feel like is it
my
awkward?
God.
Is it awkward for you guys sometimes? Like this happens to me all the time. We'll go to like a nice Italian restaurant, and they'll bring the pasta out.
And they don't have the
And
chunky guac, and you're
and
like,
I'll-
"What? This place fucking sucks. I'm out of here." House-made ketchup
Well,
and
there's
no
that.
guac.
There's that.
I'm
but
done.
I asked for Parmesan cheese. I asked for Parmesan cheese, and the waiter is like, "Oh, actually, we this is better without Parmesan." I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, but
I'll be the judge of that.
I'm paying $29 for this pasta. You can bring Parmesan cheese out. It's not that much
Yeah,
to
Oh,
ask.
there's a misconception that seafood and cheese can never be together, but it's not true. Like a grilled oyster has Parmesan on it. If tuna melt cheese always on a tuna
I
melt.
think
Like
Parmesan is good on almost anything.
there's certain things where cheese and seafood go together. Just saying.
Yeah.
Parmesan cheese is basically salt, though. So I think we should.
Salt.
If we're going to do parm, salt may be a condiment. We may want to factor that in.
Salt is just different. Salt's in another category.
Okay.
It would also be weird if you pick salt. I mean, we're saving you from that.
It's not weird if you pick Parmesan cheese as your condiment.
I mean, I just want to say that guacamole really got me off the rails because it's not. I wasn't prepared to just make a list of things we like. I thought we were talking about condiments. So now I'm just listing things I like, which is olive oil and Parmesan and salt.
Win, you've done a great job. Those are two
obviously.
great picks. Those are two great picks. All right, my next one. This is going to go totally against Win's house ketchup thing, but
house ketchup.
Peter Luger's steak sauce.
Wow.
Excellent.
Okay.
Excellent. They sell it online. People can buy it. You don't have to go to New York to have it. I don't know what's in it, but it's really good, and it makes everything.
Is there anything
good.
you put it on other than steak, or it's just steak only?
Burgers.
Like you put it on a
burgers.
burger.
Yeah. So
like
they
a
have
fancy boy burger.
The best lunch deal in New York is the Luger burger. They only serve it at lunch, and it's like $10. And you go, and it's like a burger and fries, and they put the sauce with it, and it's amazing.
All right. I like the pick. All right. So I've got a red condiment. I've got a white condiment. I've got a vegetable. I feel like I need some sort of mustard. So I'm going to go with a value pick here and just go spicy brown mustard.
Dude, you picked mayo and mustard as your go-to.
I picked what?
You picked mayonnaise and mustard.
I picked Sir Kensington's mayo, first of all. And I'm going off the rails for my fifth pick, which you guys probably have never eaten it.
Okay, let's hear it. I was going to say, these are like the condiments like at a sporting event when there's like the four things there. Like you just pick.
Listen, tomorrow's July 4th. I'm going to probably grill some brats, and I'm going to put all this stuff on my brats. We'll save sriracha. I'll save that for my eggs in the morning. All right, fifth. There's a restaurant in Greenpoint in Brooklyn called Oshimoko. It is like tacos, and they have a habanero orange salsa that is phenomenal.
Salsa's a great pick.
And whenever I get takeout, they give you like a little jar of it, and that usually lasts me for like a week or two on my eggs in the morning. So that's it. There you go.
Salsa might be that might be the Giannis of this whole draft, actually.
Yeah.
Wait, why is so that I'm good with that pick, but why were you giving guacamole shit and salsa counts?
Salsa is a condiment and guacamole is not a condiment.
But isn't salsa and caramelized onions and relish, they're all the same thing, right? They're essentially the same thing.
Am I missing something? You order chips and salsa, or you order chips and guac?
Salsa you put on anything.
Maybe you put on anything. I don't think salsa goes with a certain type of food.
I'm just saying, talk to me. Salsa is a Giannis of that. So do I have one more on this thing?
I have one more, and then you finish it out.
Right. You, Tommy.
My last one is
win one.
I was amazed there were not any dressings in this group, but I'm picking miso ginger dressing.
Wow. You have the most eclectic for sure so far.
Yeah, I have different geography points. I have everything.
I'm trying to capture your palate right now. I'm trying to capture it. So it's really hard.
It's hard.
So I'm gonna give you that Parmesan cheese is obviously not a condiment. So I'm gonna give you two. So I'm gonna say Louisiana brand hot sauce. And I'm going to say in Haiti, they have something called pickles, which is it's like Scotch bonnet. It's like Scotch bonnet peppers and kind of like, it almost looks like coleslaw. It's super, super spicy, but you put it on everything. You put it on chicken, you put it on your salad. It's just like heat. It just tastes like the sun, like it makes you warm. It's an amazing, it's not like a very common condiment, but it's just that Caribbean, like mega kick. So I'm going hot. I forgot about hot sauce. Like I got to have hot sauce. So forget the Parmesan. I'm going Louisiana hot sauce and pickles. That's my final answer.
I like that. And now that I think about it, the fact that coleslaw went undrafted is a shame.
Hot sauce went undrafted. There's
you should have picked coleslaw over mayo. Coleslaw, that's an example of I like coleslaw, but mayo is disgusting.
In 3 years, we're going to ask coleslaw about this draft, and it's going to name all 15 condiments taken before it.
Yeah. It's going to be
coleslaw's
got a real chip on his shoulder.
Coleslaw's got
coleslaw's the Malcolm Brogdon of this draft.
Yeah.
All right, Win, we've taken up way too much of your time.
Yeah, my wife was like poking her head in like 4 times.
I know.
I'd love to tell her I'm doing something important, but we're listing condiments. So
that's it.
No, I'll be there in like 5. I'm in the middle of something kind of important right now.
Really important.